Good morning, everyone. Hello on this
Morning.
beautiful Wednesday morning here in rainy New Jersey. Hope everyone's doing well. We'll give some few minutes more for people to log in. Let's see here. I see Mitch is caffeining up right now because this is
Recaffeining.
we know that business plan is very important to Mitch.
Hey, I did it.
I know you did show off. I get it.
After Greenville, I'm just a new man.
I was gonna say you look like a new man. I didn't want to call you out and embarrass you in front of everybody, but yeah, you're definitely a new man.
Yep.
You are definitely a new man. So thank you everyone for joining. This, I hope, is going to be something that we're going to be doing this every year. So even if you're not part of the Cornerstone Alpha Advisor calls every month, at least you do it on your own. If you didn't get a copy of the PDF that I created for this business plan, I'm going to drop it in the chat for you to download if you don't have access to it. And we're going to get started. I'm going to go through. I actually built out a sample business plan so you get an idea on what to put into to where. First, I want to really give a shout out here at Cornerstone. We have a Teams channel called Wins of the Week. And this is where anyone can post a win, whether, hey, I ran my fastest mile or landed a big client. I'm going to give a win of the month to one of the advisors here, to Anthony. This is where, and you've all heard me speak about follow-up and how important follow-up is. For over 4 years, Anthony's been following up with a specific client. Turns out he was working with another advisor and didn't want to sever that relationship. We've all seen it, right? This is a relationship business. This client gives him a referral to one of his friends. I said, hey, this guy does things a bit different. And Anthony had talked about doing a financial plan for this client that client did not have. His current advisor didn't do it. Long story short, an intro call with the husband and wife and a short call yesterday. Anthony lands his biggest AUM client in his 10 and 12-year career and landed a $10.7 million client yesterday. From a referral from a non-client to someone that never actually agreed to move forward with Anthony in any capacity as of yet. But that goes to show you, Anthony, I always say this is one of the best at follow-up and how easy it is to drop an email, to set a reminder in your CRM. But now this client has really taken Anthony's practice to the next level. He's more than doubled his business in the last 2 years. Now I think it's even more. It could be close to 300% in the last 2 years. So hats off to Anthony. Great job. You deserve it. Your follow-up is impeccable, and that's what happens. Success does happen when you follow up. So that being said, let's talk about business planning 25. So how important business planning is. I mean, they did a study in a Harvard graduating class back in the 70s. I'm sure you guys have heard about this, but they actually found of this graduating class, it was actually a Harvard MBA program, that only 3% of the graduates wrote down their goals. Another 13% had goals but never wrote them down. And the other 84% had no specific goals at all. The 3% of graduates who wrote their goals down were earning on average 10 times more than the 97% combined. Okay, you're talking about a graduating class in an MBA program. They all had the same teacher, they all had the same homework, and they all passed. But the differentiating factor by a huge delta were the people that actually wrote their goals down. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, is mapping out next year. But as you can see in the business plan, our first step is really, let's reflect on 24. And in the first box there, what went well? And this could be anything to, and I'll pull up the sample advisor here that I have. I called him Paulie Planner, which I'm Italian from New Jersey, so it's got to be an Italian name, of course. If I can figure out how to share my screen. There we go. All right. I'm learning technology today. Can everybody see that there? So some examples of how many ideal households did you bolt on this year? How many households did you graduate that don't fit your ideal client profile? And that's a win because it's creating capacity. We only have so many seats on the bus. client event, this advisor finished 3 of the CFP courses and hit target planning fee goal, right? So very simple. If you are tracking any type of KPIs and you have some wins, that's exactly where the wins should go. And I would tell you that celebrating wins is important. It's something I suffer with. I don't really take the time to stop and say, wow, we really hit this milestone. I'm so kind of keyed in on what to do next. And then sometimes I miss it. It's something I need to work on. This is a good way to kind of give yourself a pat in the back. And this is what Dan Sullivan calls the gain or the gap. And we don't want to continually say, well, I'm not at where I want to be. You need to take pause and say, well, where was I last year? And how much progress have I made in the last 12 months? And this is a really good exercise to do. Just take a step, take a moment just to reflect on the things you did hit. And it gives you some mental momentum going into 25. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause for a bunch of times here. So anyone have anything that they want to share to the group that went well, or have any questions on what I would even argue personal goals. If you've ran your fastest mile, if you hit your target weight or your target BMI, like put it in there. I mean, that's a huge win. But any questions or anything anyone wants to share? What went well in 24?
I'll say something. I exceeded my AUM goals and my financial planning goals and my income goals. So I was really happy with this year. And that was with a full level of shedding off other things, right? So the 80-20 rule really took effect this year for me. Obviously fully getting rid of all that health, dental, vision, and some of that stuff that I used to be doing. This was the first full year where I did none of it. And then also getting rid of a lot of small clients and graduating them to retail because I was spending too much time on them. So I was in the process of giving away a lot of business. I've had, the best year of my career.
I'm going to take a pause there, and everyone here at Cornerstone has definitely heard me say this, is elimination is more important to growth than actually adding stuff. So we all are automatic things. Hey, we want to grow. I need more clients. I need to offer this service. I need to offer this technology. I need to, no, it's elimination, eliminating things that are not ideal to you, eliminating distractions, notifications on your phone when you check email. Eliminating creates more growth than adding. And Anthony's a prime example of eliminating. In fact, he uses our in-house service team today, and that eliminated all of his service work, and it created capacity. And when there's room, you get to pick what gets filled up in that room. And Anthony got to pick only ideal clients. So this isn't magic. This is Anthony making the decision to not be distracted with things that don't serve him. So great job, Ant. Anybody else want to share? Any great wins? All right. Well, I'm going to pick on somebody at some point, so be ready. Now, the next step is I call it, what did you learn? Okay. Now, I'm going to say this. There are no mistakes. You either win or you learn. I've made plenty of mistakes that I learned from, so it's a learning opportunity, and that's why it's what did you learn? So I put up some examples here of some lessons and these are really stuff that I've extracted from either my business plan or other advisors' business plans in the past. And we do this every year with our advisors. So some of the things that I've seen and heard and lived. LinkedIn marketing go as well. And it's important in this box, put in what didn't work out as well and what you're going to do going forward. So for this person, LinkedIn marketing didn't work as good as anticipated. I will focus only focusing on targeting market, which you can tell I don't know how to form a sentence. Next one is, hey, I lost my support person, right? Raise your hand. This has happened to you. This is detrimental to any advisor when you lose a key person. And what are you going to do differently? I'll make sure a service manual or playbooks are done so onboarding a new staff person is quicker and requires less of my time. Okay. Third one, hey, I missed my revenue target. And what I'll do in 2025, I'll get off to a faster start in Q1. So there's momentum as the year goes on. So momentum is very key to business planning. 85% of a project, whenever you put your mind to it, it's 85% of that project's done the first 15% of the time you'll allocate to it. So it's very important to always get off to a fast start. And that really gets you to mentally buy in, have a lot more confidence that you're going to hit the goal. And as you get more confidence, you're going to put more time into it. So it's always important, whatever that goal is for 25, is make sure your Q1 checkpoint is actually more than you need for the remainder of the year. So, we can say I want 25% of my AUM goal to be done by Q1. Now I'd move that to almost 35 to 40%. Because you also have to understand summer, there's 3 seasons in our industry, right? May to June, or I'm sorry, January to May. June, July, August is the second season. Not a whole lot happens here. And then December's a dead month. So you really don't have 12 months. So in the first 3 months, you can get a lot done. And I've done it, and I know a lot of people have. Any questions on how to frame up? I'm not going to say anyone to share, but if they'd like to share something that they learned, that'd be great. Again, not a failure, not a mistake, learning opportunities. Anyone have anything they want to share? All right, let's focus on good stuff then. Love it. Now, this is where I'm guilty of doing this, is what is your 10-year vision? And I would tell you how not to do 10-year vision is to take what your growth has been the last 5 years and do some future calculation, right? If you want modest growth, if you want mediocre growth, you want normal growth in the advisory industry, do that. If you really want to break through, that goal's got to be huge. I want it to be uncomfortable when you read it because you're thinking to yourself, shoot, I have no idea how I'm going to pull this off. I wanted that if you had to share it with someone, you feel embarrassed to share it with them because it's so big, right? That's how you have to think of a 10-year vision. Is a 10-year vision, as Gino Wickman says, it's not, they do it on a 1, 3, and 10 years, their business plan. It's a placeholder, right? The real meat, in my opinion, is the 1 and 3 year visions, which we'll get into. But what does it look like? And I would say, just regurgitate off your mind, from your brain, play a movie of what your business should look like in 10 years. What does your staff look like? What's revenue at that point? I'm going to give you some examples here of things that I've seen. Let's see here. So thinking big, basic KPIs in our industry. What's your top line? Okay, how much AUM are you managing at that point? What are you charging in planning fees? Here's one, profit margin, right? Top line is a good indicator, but if you're not keeping a lot of it because of poor expense management or overstaffing or understaffing, here's something to think about. A 90% profit margin, I can show you, is a business not investing in their business, right? And that's not good either. So having a profit margin of 60 to 70% should be healthy. How many households are you managing in 10 years? Okay. I don't know if anyone's in the volume game. If you are, maybe it's 500 households. If you say, hey, look, I want 50 households, and this is my 50 household avatar. Minimum revenue of X, AUM of X, complexity of X, fill it out. Do you have a servicing advisor handling your other households? How many COI relationships do you have? How many client events are you doing a year? I'm sorry, someone have a question? Oh, Matt, you have your hand raised. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. I know you had access for everybody to do Coach Joe's business planning, correct?
Yes.
I don't know if everybody did it or did any part of it, but I'd really recommend doing the sessions where, especially I think it's day 1, session 2, where he talks about mindset. I've been doing this for 14 years, and I really had a pretty huge breakthrough going through that again. And this is after doing it 14 years straight. So I would recommend everybody, I don't know if you can get them access to the playbook, but especially that day 1, session 2 session with the new mindset.
I could do it. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for that reminder.
Sure.
So we're dealing with these basic business KPIs. This is, advisory business 101. To me, environment's important. Like, what does my office look like? Like, I'm a person that environment, I have to be very comfortable and I'm very productive, right? So what does your office look like? Go down to what tech you're using. What does your furniture look like? What's your website look like? Here, this person's, I want a client app, right, for my business. Operationally, hey, they're following the EOS system, entrepreneurial operating system. What's your role? Key visionary with a great integrator, COO to work. How much? This is the big one, and everyone knows how keyed in on this I am. How much time are you taking off a year in your 10-year vision? Now, detachment is, Jocko says, detachment is a superpower, and there's no breakthroughs when you're in the office. Breakthroughs happens when you detach. So how much time are you taking off a year? What does your week look like? I'm only working 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Great. Put it down in that ideal 10-year time frame. And anything else. This is where you basically build out the business that you wish to have in 10 years. If you read that and you say, well, okay, this is pretty good. That's not big enough then. I want you to read it and think there is no way I can pull this off. Because Tony Robbins says, we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we grossly underestimate what we can do in 10. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, 1.5 million in revenue. I'm doing $200,000 a year now. This is ridiculous. Or this is 10x my revenue. Great. Understand, you're not going to be the same person in 10 years. Okay, we're going to get into that piece too, because that's probably the most important part of this. But just brain dump everything you want your business to look like in 10 years. Next is, most important, no one does it on their own, right? What does your team look like? Do you have a servicing advisor, right? How many administrative people do you have? What does your leadership team look like? Do you have head of sales? Do you have an integrator, a COO, in-house power planner? Now, you can bifurcate staff or team to W-2 employees and contractors. So, we have a fractional CMO, right? Because we don't need a full-time CMO. So fractional out things that you may not need full-time. There's nothing wrong with that. They're still a member of the team. This is big. We're going to talk about personal development a lot today. Business coach, personal trainer, chiropractor, meal prep. You talk about a game changer. So little personal on my end, I do intermittent fasting, so I don't eat till noon. I have a meal prep chef that drops my meals off every Monday. So drop 6 meals off a week, Monday to Saturday. Those are my lunches. So I don't have any energy wasted during the day on what I'm going to eat. My meals are dropped off at the office. I'm good to go. I email the order in every Sunday, and I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about anything when I have to eat, and my wife thankfully cooks dinner. It's one less thing to worry about. Mark Zuckerberg said that in an interview. That's why he wears his hoodies every day, because it's one less decision. But how much healthier can you get if you're controlling your meals that way? If you leave it up to chance, we're going to make bad decisions, including me. So team is very important. Any questions on your team? Great. And this could be anyone. Cairo, I go to a acupuncturist, so you have a standing appointment for acupuncture, whatever it is. Just put down what you're going to need to support you in your 10-year vision. So it doesn't have to be someone in the business. It could be someone that's supporting you to be the best version of yourself. Here's where everything changes. So about 7 years ago, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, Coach Joe changed his business planning to include who do you need to become to accomplish. Okay. This changed everything for me because I focused so much on how to change myself that in the last just under 5 years, we've grown almost 700%. And it's not because a new LinkedIn post or a new technology or Ramsey leads or any of that nonsense, right? I changed who I was. I changed me as a leader, me as an advisor, as a father, as a spouse. I would love to interview my wife if she wasn't deathly nervous of being in front of people. I'm a different person. And all I did was change who I was, and everything else miraculously fell into place. It wasn't luck, right? But think of that 10-year. If you're doing 10 times the revenue today, can you do that in the state you're in today? Probably not. I'll challenge that. You can't. You cannot do in the same version of yourself. You need a different energy level. You need to be reading different things. You need to be here, a master delegation, laser focus on the vision. This is very big. We talk about not someone who does not allow distractions. Okay. Only working within my unique abilities, Dan Sullivan says, should be 2 or 3 things you do very well, and that's it. You should be doing nothing else. This was one of my goals, having the health of someone 10 years younger. So I go to I do VO2 max tests every year because I want to move that needle. Because if my composition, my internal composition is 10 years younger, I got more energy, more mental energy. And guess what? Life's going to throw a ton of stuff at us. And the better we are as a person operating, the easier it is to overcome these things. So this is where you should spend a lot of your time. And I'm a byproduct of changing who I am first, and everything else took care of themselves. Business took care of itself, family, life, everything took care of itself. Does anyone have any question on how to change who you are, how to become someone different? So I know a lot of you here have done that and seen enormous success. Okay. So now we have a 10-year vision. We have a 10-year vision on the basic KPIs in the industry, whatever your KPIs are, whatever you track. We know what your team would need to look like to support that vision, and we now know who you need to become to support it. So 10-year will change. That's the one milestone that will always continue to change. It's the farthest one out. The 3-year, I believe, is where the sizzle is, because it's not far enough away that you can postpone stuff, but it's not tomorrow. It's that middle ground. Chuck, I'm sorry, you had a question?
No, that's all right. I didn't want to interrupt your flow. You can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I've seen you grow over the years, and we've all known you a number of years, Carmen. Appreciate everything that you've done. They're in like outsourcing or bringing in a team. There's too early, there's too late. So how do you always question yourself when it's time to make that jump? Because it should be scary, but you definitely don't want it too late, right? So I'd love to hear your tips on that.
If you're talking about staff, getting to the point of capacity, I think is too late. You need to be able to, if you're using, say, a virtual assistant, 10, 15 hours a week, when you're using them for 10 to 12 consistently and you find that stuff's not getting done on time or you seem to need more hours, I think it's then time to shift before the need is really there. So I think prior to capacity with staff, when it comes to marketing, because that's not a need, right? That's more of, hey, this is for biz dev. I don't need this to run the day to day. I'd like to do it. The sooner the better. And I'll tell you this, always go into this. And I have this filter that I use when I go through a decision. What's the worst that can happen? So if you're going to hire a fractional CMO, it's $2,500 a month. I'm throwing something out there. Okay. What's the worst that can happen? You do it for 6 months. It doesn't yield the results. Okay. And let's be very realistic on what the expectations are first. What did you lose? 20 grand? Some time. Is that going to put your family in the poorhouse? No. Is that going to derail your whole business? No, it's not. And if you can live with the absolute worst case scenario, if it's not detrimental to you and your family and your business, then very intentionally pull the ripcord. Go shop around, do some homework. But when it comes to staffing, it's before you're at capacity. And when it comes to biz dev stuff, you have to try it, because marketing for you, Chuck, the way you want to do it may never work for me. It may never work for someone else, but for you, it's just in your niche and how you're perceived as an advisor or in your environment and with your core group of people, it may work fantastic, but you don't know till you try. But I'll tell you this, we talk about ROI in our business, right? Return of inaction. That's a bigger part of ROI. Not asking for introductions from your best clients and COIs. What does that cost you? By the way, it's the best form of marketing and it costs virtually nothing. Yet I see so many advisors will skip around asking for introductions, me included, when I was basically in production, as you call it, and then trying other stuff, stepping over the easiest way, the easiest barrier to entry to gaining new prospects and new clients, to go try other stuff. So sooner than later, and hire slow, fire fast, as I always say. And I've been subject to that reverse, but yeah, it's always go into it. What's the worst that can happen? And believe me, it's not ever as worse as we think it'll be. Thanks, Chuck. Great question.
Thank you.
Barges, you have a question, buddy?
Sorry. No, I just have a comment about what do you need to become. I think it's important to understand that who we are today, we've been domesticated, we've been influenced in certain ways, especially with the people that are around us today. So one thing I've learned and experienced is, as you're trying to break into who you need to become, it's going to really affect a lot of the relationships that you're in, right? The organizations that you're in, the people around you. Sadly to say, your spouses and mothers and fathers and siblings. And I think naturally, those people, even though they do care about you, naturally they're going to want to hold you back. So I think it's very important to really be clear on who you want to be and who you need to be so that you could stay the course on that path and not allow the people around you to derail that. So I just wanted to point that out because I think a lot of us, and I've been guilty of this, are afraid to make certain decisions because we think about what everyone else around us is going to feel. And this even goes back to clients, hence the reason why it's hard for us to let go of some of these smaller clients. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody.
Great point. In order to pull your 10-year vision off, you may have to give up some friends. You may have to give up some stuff. That's the reality. Right? But how important is this goal? I always say that is this required? Is this amount of revenue required for you and your family to live the life you want to live? And most of the time it's, yeah, it is. Well, then the work that's needed is irrelevant. You got to give up some friends. You got to give up maybe a Sunday game because you're going to read or do. Great. You have to do it. Discipline equals freedom. I'm using a ton of Jocko lines today, including the one behind me, and I apologize. But having a discipline to give up things that just are going to hold you back, it's, and that's a differentiating factor between someone in our industry, in any industry, that excels versus someone that's just getting by. The person that excels made those decisions. They were hard, but heck, their goals and their objectives were much more important than maybe those relationships that weren't serving them well. Right? So great point, Bart. Just great point. Love it. Now, 3 years. This is where you could take your 10-year number and give it about a 30% ish. And again, this should be, quasi scary, I believe. But this is where you're going to start molding out your action items for what you need to do, coming up to, 2025, because 3 years is a blink of an eye. Right? You don't have a lot of time to postpone stuff. That's why I love the 3-year. I love the 3-year goal, because you just don't have enough time to procrastinate. So here's some examples based on that same 10-year vision. So based on that 1.5 top line in 10, 450,000 of top line revenue for this advisor, about 50 million in AUM, 75,000 in planning fees, working with 100 households or less. Now here's something. This advisor today doesn't have a servicing advisor. Within 3 years, now he's placing a milestone. Hey, servicing advisor, work with everyone else. At least 3 great COI relationships. Firming up new office space before lease ends. So for this advisor, the lease is ending right around 3 years, right? Website and app is up and running. So he's like, oh, this is done. Like this, within 3 years, this has to be done. Okay. Going to, what does your team look like? Again, he or she knows what that 10-year vision looks like. Okay, based on that, where do we need to be momentum-wise? Okay, I need at least 1 client admin, 1 servicing advisor, a bookkeeper, a fractional CMO. I need a business coach and a personal trainer ASAP. And so in 36 months, this is what the team looks like to get to that 10-year vision. Now, some of this may be redundant, like who do you need to become? And this is something that someone had asked me. I was working out a day I probably shouldn't have worked out. What's your goal? My goal is to be a little bit better every day. And that's why I push myself. Be a better leader to your team, someone that protects every minute of the day. This is being prepared. This is going into your day, controlling your day. Now, how many times have you gone to the office, whether it's your home office or your office, and you don't really have a plan for the day? What happens? The day plans you. The day controls you. You're looking at your inbox and using that inbox as your to-do list, right? I was talking about this with one of the advisors this past week. I review each meeting. By the way, I've had this call 3 times. So let me tell you a story. Anthony and I were on presenting to a board of a private special needs children's school here in New Jersey and managed a retirement plan of maybe 3 weeks ago. And we walk outside, we're done. It was about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour presentation. And Anthony's like, wow, you killed it in there. It went great. And I said, Ant, I've had that meeting 4 times already. I had my staff change the agenda 3 times because I'm going through for days before this meeting. I rehearsed, I practiced. And I do that with almost just about every meeting I have is that I want the day or days before review that meeting and say, here's what I want the ideal. This is what I want the ideal result of this meeting to be. And subconsciously, your mind's going to then work through things that you can say, things you shouldn't say. And that's why I had my staff change the agenda 3 times, because as I was thinking, culminating about this meeting coming up, I said, ooh, we got to make this point. Jess, change this. And she probably hates me. But being prepared, not letting the day run you and reviewing your day the day before is huge. And being very clear, this is something very important, being very clear on the vision. Because once the vision is clear, decisions are easy. If you know where you want to be in 3 years and 10 years, and you have to make decisions today based on those milestones, it's going to be very easy to make decisions because you know what the win is. If you don't know what the win is, how do you make decisions day to day? It's almost impossible. You're not going to make the best decisions. So some of this may be redundant on the 10-year, but try and break it up. Everyone clear on that? Anyone have any questions on the 3-year? Okay. Now we're getting to the 1 year. Now the way the 1 year is going to work, it's a little bit different than what you expect from the 10 and the 3. We're going to break this down to 2 major goals. What I want you to do at this point, go back to your 10-year and circle the 2 most important things there. And you'll find that there'll be a goal in the 10-year, a milestone in the 10-year, something that actually, if I hit this, then these other mini goals are going to be hit as well. I call them multiplier goals. All right. Go back and circle the top 2 in your 10-year list. Right. You want to make sure that you're getting that you're really, because if you focus on too much, where focus goes, energy flows. Right. So when you're planning out 2025, we're going to break this down to the 2 most important goals. We're not going to do 10. We're going to do 5. Let's narrow it down to 2. And for this advisor, goal number 1, adding 10 million of new AUM. Now, a lot of people track different KPIs. It could be deposits. It could be net new. I track new because if a client's making a withdrawal from an account, that's an uncontrollable. So I don't really track net new. Net new should be good for revenue projections, but I don't think for when it comes to set milestones, having 10 million of new AUM or whatever that number is of new deposits, whether it's existing client, new client, doesn't matter. Okay. Next is, why is it a must for you? Why is this that important? And for this advisor, it gets in the focus on bringing on bigger clients, right? So this is, again, having an ideal client avatar, not giving up seats on the bus for clients who do not fit my profile. So it's like to Anthony's point before, being very clear on who you want to service, knowing you only have a certain amount of capacity, and don't let anyone on the bus unless they fit that profile. Now, from that goal 1, you're going to have mini goals, action items, projects here. Hey, this advisor, run a revenue report. Segment client base based on revenue. I'll tell you this, if you're an advisor, you're not running revenue reports per household, this is similar to a Walmart not doing inventory. This could be detrimental to your business. And the 80-20 rule will apply here. I almost guarantee it. Next, setting up strategic calendar for 25. If you're not running a strategic calendar system with windows of reviews for certain client segments, you're running potentially a very inefficient business model. You're not effectively using your time. Intro conversations on all review agendas. Holy mackerel. Asking for introductions. Isn't that great? Now, you remember this advisor 3-year goal was to have 3 solid COIs. So that goal is going to trickle back here. Just like I said, there's going to be these mini action items and it rolls up to bigger goals here. Reach out to 3 potential COIs a week and create a nurture sequence to stay on top of mind. So reaching out, scheduling meetings with a COI, could be an attorney, an accountant, whoever, business consultant, and setting up a nurture campaign. It could be an email drip. It could be whatever you want it to be. And targeting C-level executives on LinkedIn. So going back to I won't say a mistake, but a learning lesson for this advisor was he or she was targeting to the masses instead of targeting just C-suite. So he knows in year 1, in order to hit this $10 million of AUM, heck, I got to make sure I'm focusing on C-level only. Okay. So that's goal number 1 for this advisor. Goal number 2. Okay. Reduce distractions. So why is it a must for this person? It's I do too many activities that do not help me grow the firm and does not make me a better version of myself. Think of every action you take in a day. What you decide to have for breakfast, if you decide to work out or not. If instead of listening to a podcast or something that's motivational in that 30-minute drive, you're going to listen to music, right? Think of all by the way, none of it's bad. Who doesn't like a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich for breakfast, right? So, but think of it, every time these decisions are made, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. So if you decide to have the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich or some steel-cut oatmeal and scrambled eggs, the steel-cut oatmeal is going to give you a vote toward the person you want to become. The Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich, no vote. Even though they are delicious, no vote. So really good indicator. Just look at everything, the decisions you make day to day, and just see if they're voting. See if you're voting in the right direction. And now, if you want to reduce distractions, some secondary goals, action items, projects. For this advisor, running his own money, this is something. Find 3 firms to outsource portfolio management. This advisor is not using a digital calendaring system. Demo 2 and move by end of Q1. No meetings on Fridays. This is strategic day now, working on the business only. Now, I can't tell you how important this is I could draw that parallel to working on a car while the engine's running. Right? You can't do that. You got to shut the engine down. So earmarking a day for strategic work would make a huge difference. Removing, this is a big one. All notifications from my phone other than Teams and text. This was mine. So I'm not on any social media. So the only 2 notifications I have on my phone is Teams, which is our internal communication system, and text, which is mostly is going to be personal for me. Distractions are key. I don't have any notifications for email. I don't run my own email. I recommend you either you outsource that or you come up with a method where you're checking it 2-3 times a day, and some use an app like SaneBox, which is $20 a year, which changed. I run a zero inbox that definitely helped. But notifications are distractions. Okay. So try and minimize those distractions to allow growth in your life. Who doesn't like a good series on TV? Right? 1 episode a day max. That gives you about an hour, right? Some are only half hour. Like, cap that. I think I read a stat. It was almost 7 hours a day people spend either scrolling on social media and watching TV combined. 7 hours a day. But to minimize distractions, cap it at 1 episode. And buy a Kindle and keep it. This is mine. And actually, it's right. I go nowhere without this. Literally waiting for my son's hockey game to start, I'll get my 30 minutes in of a nonfiction book a day, minimum. Sometimes they get lost. It could be a couple hours. But these are some of the things that will minimize distractions and keep you focused. Any questions on, again, these are the two, I'm going to zoom out real quick. These are the two goals for 2025 that this advisor realized in this scenario. If these two things get done in 2025, shoot, I'm well on my way to my 3-year and well on my way to my 10-year. Anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. Great, great, great. Now, on to my probably most favorite topic, and all you probably hate me for talking about, is personal development. This goes back to who do you need to become to pull this off? So now you're at this point, you have your 10-year, your 3-year, you know, your two most important goals for 2025. You cannot pull this off in your current state. It's impossible. Your 10-year vision will never happen if you, in your current state. Now, the good thing is that's a decision you make. We've all heard that saying that you're the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with, right? We've all heard that. But thankfully for phones and Kindles, the top 5 people, the top probably 3 people I spend with are people that are running podcasts or writing books. We now, in the dawn of technology, we have the ability to choose those 5 people. Choose wisely, right? This should be, business people, whatever. But you have the ability to now pick in your top 5. So this is an example of someone, and again, this is information that I've gotten from doing, I don't know, hundreds of these annual plans. This is someone, be honest with yourself. What are you doing for PD today? Now, PD is anything that makes you a better person. So for this person, they're listening to 2 industry podcasts a month. They're reading 2 to 3 books a year. Gym membership, they maybe go once or twice a week. And they go to the doctor every, when they're sick. Okay. Now look at a 10-year vision. What does your PD need to look like then? And this needs to be a different story, right? Full-time business coach, 2 to 3 books a month, leaders or readers, right? Member of 2 mastermind groups, a standing chiro appointment every 2 weeks, a standing acupuncture every 2 weeks, personal trainer to build out workouts and hold accountable, blood tests every 6 months, and at least 2 industry conferences a year, right? You draw out what your PD needs to be for your 10-year vision. And by the way, I stopped. I could have kept on going. I didn't want to fill it up. Okay. Most of you know what my PD looks like. And I'm going to continue to move the needle increase, and I already have for next year. And I'll tell you, in lockstep, success on the business side has followed the amount of PD. It's correlated directly. And by the way, these aren't big spends. What does it cost to read 2 books a month? $30, right? I get blood tests every 6 months. Check my vitamin levels, make sure I'm good, and make adjustments and everything. A lot of this is stuff that I've done or I'm doing today. Draw it out. But anything here needs to be what you need to be doing to pull out your 10-year vision. It could be a Stitch Fix membership because you want to dress better to be more successful. It doesn't matter. But it matters where you should be spending, I would say, a minimum, is what Joe Lucas says, 5 to 10% of top line should be in PD. Okay, so do some math. 5 to 10% should be in personal development in any of those buckets. And continually to cast those votes to be a better person, a better version of yourself. And I can't say it enough. I did not ever spend a dime in marketing until recently. So for the last 20 plus years, zero marketing, and our growth has been more attributed to me being a different version of me than I was. And anyone here can attest, I am a different person. I mean, Chuck, full disclosure, Chuck's my cousin. We grew up together. So he knew me when I was, 4 or even earlier than that. I hope to God I'm different than I was at 4, but you've seen me grow up in the industry from when I started to today. And it's not because, of a marketing plan. It's not because I went to a Millionaire Summit or any of that nonsense or Bill Good Marketing, whatever the hell's out there. No, I changed myself. And if I can do it, someone that barely graduated high school, never went to college, and I am a grinder in this industry, right? I started with nothing in this industry. I focus on myself. If I could do it, anybody here can do it. I guarantee you, I am never the smartest person in the room. Ever.
I'll pay you a compliment because, you know, obviously Carmine and I have grown up together and we've lost touch base, lost touch, but I've watched him grow and I always pay him the compliment in person. You know, you're doing a great job running the business. I see what he does, not just as a practitioner, but big picture, you know, from the outside looking in, and I love it and I'm inspired by it. So thanks, Carm.
It's really the inside looking in because lo and behold, Chuck actually rented an office in my building on the first floor.
Yeah.
So he actually can peer into our glass window whenever he wants.
And I
So-
do.
So we uploaded the template, the PDF template, and I'll put this offer out. If anyone here that's not with Cornerstone wants to have a review of your business plan, okay, I'm going to put a Calendly link into the chat here. Fill it out. The only caveat is just have your business plan filled out fully and send it to me prior. I want to get eyes on before our call. We're going to put the Calendly link in the chat. Schedule the meeting with me, and I'll give you, I'll be that second set of eyes to be able to give you advice or anything that you need. But that is an offer that I will give. 15-minute call should be enough. If we need more time, I'm pretty gracious with my time. My dopamine is helping advisors grow. And for me, this is not work. I can do this all day, every day. So I hope this was helpful, giving you a format here. This is something that in the Alpha Advisor, we could call this a mastermind or a webinar, whatever you want to call it. Every December will be a business planning session. And the only problem I have is fitting it in under an hour because we didn't even get into, I'm more in our business planning here internally, a lot of it's personal. What are your personal goals too? But I just couldn't fit all in an hour. So maybe next year we'll have almost like maybe a 2-part business planning event that we can bifurcate personal and business. But I hope this was helpful. Please take the time to fill it out. Use the link to schedule one-on-one. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Anything that could have been done differently? Matt, you're not allowed to say that.
I thought it was awesome. I got some great ideas. I got some great insights into things I should be thinking about that I'm not thinking about. So I will for sure schedule with you.
Thanks, Irene. Anyone else? All right, great. Everyone enjoy their Wednesday. Thank you again for logging on. There'll be a recording put out. Click on the link, schedule the time, save the PDF. Any questions, please reach out to me directly, and I hope everyone has a great day.